Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books. Today we're talking about the panic setting in at themarysue.com, at other places like the AV Club, which is actually pretty funny because they just don't like David Zaslav. But I think a lot of us like David Zaslav because of what he's doing for Warner Brothers and for the greater Western culture altogether. Because he's creating an alternative where merit still counts, quality counts, and fan service counts. This is something going on in the entertainment industry right now, thanks to the merger between Warner Brothers and Discovery that just was impossible before all this. Why was it impossible? Because there's this very cliquey, I hate to have to say it, but abusive group of executives and culture that have been focused on pushing their agendas in the stuff that we care about, which is across all media. And I'll tell you, I covered this in a video a couple of years back. It was an older one. There's a whole cultural consultation group that goes, it's not just the media, it's not just executives in the media. There are groups that go and consult on scripts. This is like what the Chinese CCP do when they control media. It's a propaganda type of deal. All right, that's one of my earliest videos. It goes back quite a while. But in any case, things have changed. They're not that way so much anymore. Not at Warner Brothers Discovery. And why does it make such a big deal about Warner Brothers Discovery? I'm making a big deal about it because you can feel the change. Something is going on. You know, it's not just canceling Batgirl, though that was a very big deal. Let me tell you, for the Zaslav people to come into an acquisition like this and deal with all the executives and deal with all the backlash and just say, yeah, we're going to actually cancel that Batgirl thing. You know, they didn't just cancel the Batgirl thing. I did a video. This is my playlist. Apparently, I've done 24 videos about this, but I'm going to be doing a lot more because every time I see something important, I'm going to do a video about it to make sure you guys are aware of it. What did they do? They burned like $1 billion worth of content. That didn't even include Batgirl. This was a video we did, Strange Adventures canceled. That was one specific project. But right prior to that, $1 billion in woke TV shows and movies burned by David Zaslav, CEO, Warner Bros. Discovery. And they're not afraid to get rid of content. But let me tell you something. It's not just the media backlash. There's investor backlash too when they see like, well, wait a minute. Hold on a second. You just merged with this company. Now you're going and throwing out $1 billion worth of spending on content? For what possible purpose? Why would you do a thing like that? They have to defend these decisions. Even when they have executives and then they have directors and they have actors, talent saying things like, well, we believe this isn't really fair. I don't understand why they would do something like this. They have to be able to stand up to those decisions. So it really takes a strong man. And it takes a strong team to be able to say, hey, look, we have a strategy. It's a value-oriented strategy. It's a merit-oriented strategy. We need to look at what this move does for the brand, regardless of how much money has already been spent. And we need to understand that the money that we are investing in projects, that's important. But what's more important is what the brand actually stands for. MarySue.com does not like Keanu Reeves coming back to Constantine. All right, now, why do I care what Mary Sue has to say? Well, because they're twisting in the wind. They're not winning. They know damn well they're not winning. And they know why they're not winning. And they're starting to get extremely nervous about the future to come. Because, again, it's not just about what Warner Bros. Discovery does. And I'm really happy to have been a part of Comicsgate. I'm still a part of Comicsgate. I have a new project coming out soon. People like the Comicsgate guys who are producing, and I'm one of them, alternate content, stuff that we're going to say, listen, it's just merit. It's just stuff we're passionate about. Hopefully you love it. But we're people that just produce things that are merit-based. It's stuff we want to produce. It's stuff that is not based on your skin color. It's not based on your gender. It's not based on any other agenda. The only agenda we have is to make good content, which, of course, SJW is considered to be an agenda all unto itself. And is it an agenda? Is it a mission? It's just a mission to produce great stuff. It's like saying a baker wants to bake great cookies. That's their mission. Is that an agenda? Yes, that is an agenda, but it's a normal agenda. It's not crazy. It's not trying to tell people, well, you're not who you are and you have this different quality about yourself, and because you look this way, this is how your life should be dictated. Like, no. We don't want any of that. Now, when Warner Brothers steps up through Zaslav and his team, and they say, hey, listen, we get that you're trying to do a woke Constantine. They were going to be doing a woke Constantine series. We understand you wanted to do that. We understand, J.J. Abrams, you wanted us to pay for all that. Even though, and this is, a great thing to see, like, even though there's no financial benefit to actually doing this. Like, we could do it, but we're going to damage the brand. We're going to weaken Constantine as a property, as what should be rightfully a film property, to just do a BIPOC, a virtue signal, nonsensical thing. Like, you can't answer to investors with that. You can't say to investors, well, look, and people do this, like, they try, but the thing is this, you can tell investors, and the investors, a lot of it's controlled by very big pension fund managers like BlackRock or whatever, and say, hey, BlackRock, look, we're ESG guys, and like, okay, whatever, you can do all that, or we're doing social justice stuff. But what's so great about this is that is not going to pay for the $50 billion in debt plus. They have liabilities going into $90 billion, $89 billion, but they have debt that needs to be paid. They have interest on debt that needs to be paid. So they're not playing a lot of games. It's about making money. So that's why you're going to see, like, people at Warner Brothers Discovery focused on what can we do to make money. And I had someone make an interesting comment on one of the other videos talking about how, well, even though there's talk about Warner Brothers Discovery being sold, that doesn't mean it's being sold. No one's selling it. It's true, it's not being sold. It's not being sold right now. In fact, it can't be sold. And I shared an article with them, and I'm like, this is actually important to cover too. So we'll talk about why WarnerMedia can't be sold. It will not be sold. WarnerMedia Discovery, or that portion of Discovery, WarnerMedia itself, will not and cannot be sold before 2024, no matter what. There's a reason for it. So we'll discuss that. But yeah, when you look at your enemy, and unfortunately the Mary Sue is the enemy because they're attacking the culture, and you see them nervous and you see them upset, it's good to take note. So let's get into this first article. Before we do, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications and give me a thumbs up when you like it, because you're making it possible for me to I just need to get a little further with this channel, and you're going to see what my new comics projects are. My first thing is going to be very, very cool. You're going to like it, but I can't announce it. I can't do anything with it just yet until it's a little further along, until I get this subscriber number up to on the channel. And please, if you like the content, do share it with people. Let them know that there's someone who is incredibly passionate about the shift in entertainment right now going on at Warner Brothers Discovery, and what it means for all of us as a culture and as fans. And share a video if you like it as well. All right, so Keanu Reeves, coming from themarysue.com. Keanu Reeves returns for Constantine sequel. Someone wanted, apparently. Like, yeah, there are people that think Constantine is cool. You see him with a cigarette? Like, probably the last major character with a cigarette is Constantine. Because cigarettes are not good for you, which they're not. But still, like, some characters can be a little badass and smoke a cigarette. All right, so here she goes. And is it a she? Yes. She likes Diet Coke. To be honest, I also like Diet Coke very much, although I've cut back. Picture it, the year's 2005. You roll up to your local AMC, rocking a trucker hat and skinny jeans. You buy a ticket for Constantine starring Keanu Reeves. Gwen Stefani's hollaback girl plays in the lobby as you get your Coke and popcorn. You leave the theater 2 hours later and never think of Constantine again. Well, I don't think so. Constantine, pretty much resonated. That was a pretty cool movie. Until now, 17 years later, when Warner Brothers announces that Keanu Reeves will return for a Constantine sequel. They announced this the same day in Deadline that they announced that they're canceling the Social Justice Warrior version. And yes, J.J. Abrams is the producer of the Constantine film that Keanu Reeves is returning to. However, it's not. I don't care even if Keanu Reeves is like, well, I'll make a terrible movie. I'm cool with that, which I don't think he is. I don't think he appreciates some of the fan response to the recent Matrix movie that was no damn good. However, not through this guy's company. No. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Why would they keep J.J. Abrams as a producer? Because there's a thing called contracts, okay? You sign a contract, you get the rights, you get to manipulate and control the rights. The TV series may still happen on another channel. Again, that's probably contractual, but very unlikely. The focus is going to be on the film. But you're still not going to see a situation where it's going to be a social justice warrior film. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to make money, and that is against what Warner Brothers Discovery is trying to do with its intellectual properties. In addition to Reeves, and this is a really good sign, director Francis Lawrence from the Hunger Game films will also be returning to helm the screenplay written by Akiva Goldsman. Titans, Star Trek, Picard. All right, Star Trek Picard, not good in particular. No additional casting announcements have been made, and the film does not yet have a release date. But I think they are suggesting 2025. But no release date, just like the year they expect it to come out. Constantine, which starred Reeves as the titular brooding exorcist from DC Comics' Hellblazer series, also featured Rachel Weisz, Shia LaBeouf, Tilda Swinton, John Huston, and Peter Stormare. The film grossed $230.9 million worldwide, but received mixed reviews from critics. Who cares about that? With a 46% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Sequels have stalled in development, while the character found new life in NBC's live-action 2014 Constantine series, where he had blondish hair, where Constantine was played by Matt Ryan. Despite being canceled after one season, Ryan reprised his role in various series in the Arrowverse and lent his voice to DC animated films and series. So there's interest. A new Constantine series was in development at HBO Max, but those plans have been scrapped in favor of the sequel film. Constantine was also rumored to join HBO Max's Justice League Dark series, which also had been halted in the wake of the Warner Brothers Discovery merger and CEO David Zaslav's restructuring of DC properties. They don't know what to call it. They don't know what to say and do because, media outlets like the Mary Sue have had a lot of influence. They really have. But you can feel it. It's not the same. All they can do right now is complain and hit Zaslav and his guy Gunnar Wiedenfels, his CFO. Their attitude has been made very clear. We want the dollars. We want the cents. Show us how your project for our intellectual property is going to build the property for the future, has tremendous merit, is well produced, and is going to be something that is going to make money. Sell us on it. Make sure the thing is going to make money. As Zaslav has said in other videos that I've covered, he actually says, DC Comics owner here, make sure we get paid. He wants to get paid on the exploitation of intellectual property. And he's not looking to get paid in social justice warrior points. He's looking to get paid in actual real cash. Okay. So a variation on the character Joanna Constantine made her debut in Netflix's The Sandman. Joanna quickly became a fan favorite, with many clamoring for a character to get her own spin-off series. A Constantine sequel makes sense, I guess. Yeah, it does, my dear. Keanu Reeves' career has never been hotter, and in terms of rebuilding the DC film slate, he's a solid bet. That's all they care about. When you put together a top team with a brand, an intellectual property that has a following, and then you say, hey, we got these people together, we're going to do this thing, it attracts other talent as well to other projects. And you can see this is like a complete slam dunk for Warner Brothers Discovery. Obviously, as long as they don't let J.J. Abrams go woke on it, which they will not, because they don't have their guy. They don't have their team together to recreate their version of the Marvel Universe a la Kevin Feige from years ago. But they can attract more talent. They can show that something's happening at the studio and there's a project you can get excited about. But still, it's surprising to see a sequel greenlit 17 years after the first film, and especially one with such a lackluster fan base. If there was such a lackluster fan base, then why are people excited about this Jenna Coleman's Joanna Constantine? Why was there interest enough to have J.J. Abrams working on the TV series? It's not a lackluster fan base. It's an iconic character, and there aren't a lot of other characters like it. After all, there haven't been any Snyder Cut level fan campaigns. You see this? No, there haven't been any Snyder Cut fan campaigns because, going back to the Snyder Cut films, going back to the Snyder films at DC, like Man of Steel, even Batman vs. Superman, there were interest in Snyder's take on that world. So there was more than one film. It was the Snyder Cut was something that should have come out, and that was the plan in the first place. So, of course, there was interest in it. But, yeah, Warner, so as she writes here, maybe Warner knows something that they don't. Warner knows a lot of things. They have priorities that equal making money. So now you're going to see, again, this is a continuation of the cancellation of Batgirl. This is a continuation of the $1 billion cut from just projects that didn't make financial sense. Not even including Batgirl. So much stuff they consider to be not profitable. Junk. And, this is something, I guess another video of mine, Woke DC is dead. Woke DC, that was me. And why was I saying that? Because this is weeks and weeks. And I'm saying it because I understand. Look, I published 1,000 comics. I've created stuff low budget, high budget. And I know a bit about finance, and I also know these guys are burdened with $50 billion in debt. They're not fooling around no matter what. Everything they say, everything they do at Warner Brothers Discovery now is we are not fooling around, and the $50 billion plus in debt is so much discipline. It's so great because it's just look, this actually has to get handled. And if it doesn't get handled, we got a major problem. This is coming from the AV Club. They have a lot of snide comments and funny headlines because they really just don't like David Zaslav, and they're not shy in talking about it. So, of course, it cracks me up. Warner Brothers Discovery does not give a crap about its streaming service, huh? Of course they think their streaming service is important, but they are not focusing only on the streaming service. They have plenty of streaming subscribers, plenty of ways of distributing their content, plenty of ways of monetizing their content, meaning they're willing to take even Batman Adventures, right, and license that outside of their own streaming services. They don't care. Just get pass. We want money. A new report sheds light on HBO Max's indifferent approach on keeping the Lord of the Rings films as an exclusive property. And I covered a little of this yesterday, and they're not concerned about keeping. They already have House of the Dragon, right? Game of Thrones. You put Game of Thrones next to House of the Dragon, it's basically two of the same types of properties. Why would they need both of those things in house when they can get paid hand over fist by letting Amazon do it with Prime? This is business. This is what these guys don't understand. If there's one thing that distinguishes Warner Brothers Discovery from its various rivals among the big media conglomerates, it's got to be how sparse a series of Fs they give the newly merged company seems to give about the concept of streaming. No, they care about streaming. Discovery Plus cares about streaming. Discovery understands because they've had Discovery Network, TLC, the Food Channel. These are linear programming channels that have been always distributed through cable. They launched Discovery Plus before this merger. in a way to get direct-to-consumer business and figure out how they can do more interactive things with customers, create new business opportunities. So they've been doing this ever since, look, it started with the cable channels, and then it's now progressed to streaming. But doesn't mean that they have so much intellectual property, they have too much intellectual property that doesn't need to be just distributed only through whatever they can do with HBO Max and whatever they can do with the Discovery Plus channels. When you've got Batman and you've got Batman Adventures and you've got someone like, it could be Apple, it could be Netflix, it could be Hulu, spending a fortune to promote your character and your content that you're still going to get paid for, why would you not want them out there promoting your content and stuff that they can license? Of course, it's not just Batman Adventures. It's Batman. It's all of DC. So when they get new fans that are associated with Batman Adventures, it still relates back to Batman and DC, the rest of the stuff that they own and they're promoting. These guys don't get it. And it's very funny to me, we've had plenty of examples of this effedness already, of course, starting with Zaslav's brutal decision to kill off it was a brave decision to kill off HBO Max's exclusive films like Batgirl and Scoob Holiday Haunt. Brutal. But we also see a new report from The Hollywood Reporter focused in on the company's approach to the hallowed principle of streaming exclusivity, which many of the big streamers have spent billions assuming will be one of the key issues separating the Peacocks from the Tubies, different streaming channels, and what we have, excuse me a second, Peacocks from the Tubies and what have you in the coming years. Everybody has to have their own catalog of content that's theirs exclusively, the idea goes, and that doesn't get shared out to the enemy. HBO Max, though, do they care about that? No. HBO Max couldn't give a crap about that stuff. If you want something from its library to license, just name a price. Not just name a price, it's got to be a good enough price. This is, direct to consumer is very important. With crowdfunding in particular, direct to consumer, very important. But it's not everything when you have a major property. It's not. There are other outlets. There have always been multiple windows to sell to. And the fact that Netflix did so well as it did, and it doesn't exploit multiple distribution windows, meaning Netflix makes movies, they just throw them on Netflix, and they say, hey, we got a Netflix movie. But they have no strategy of how to sell it in other places. And, but their stock is down like 80% or something. They're in trouble now. Because the novelty of hey, we could just be direct to consumer all the time. No, it's a novelty. It's like Amazon having a shopping cart. It's like, oh, wow, we have a one-click order. It's like, okay, you have one-click ordering and they have a trademark or whatever. They have somehow got a trademark on that. But in any case, it doesn't mean you can't sell content to other outlets. And people are going to realize that the Zaslav team has it down. They understand exploiting content because of the Warner, their previous experience with Discovery and all that other content. Without making this another, a whole other direction I'm going off in, they sell multiple stuff in multiple languages that are things like cooking shows, dramas, and things like that. And they know how to internationalize their content and sell in multiple different places. But you're going to see a lot of crying and panic and whining. This isn't quite panic yet. This is just complaining of I don't get it. Why aren't they just making everything woke and selling it directly to their own subscribers just in the U.S.? It's because they know what people like and what people want. For instance, the company's recent treatment of its Lord of the Rings movies, one of the biggest IP troves in Warner Bros. Discovery's possession. That didn't stop Warner from cheerfully licensing out the Peter Jackson films to Amazon Prime Video recently as part of a promotional push for The Lord of the Rings Rise of Power, which, to be clear, operates on a separate set of rights from the films disconnected from this licensing agreement. That gets complicated. Amazon got a nice promo for its show. Warner Bros. Discovery got a big stack of cash. It's almost like they were back in the world of Netflix circa 2012 when cross-company streaming partnerships were far more common, and that is the future. Gordon Wiedenfeld's, Warner Brothers' newly minted CFO. Warner Brothers Discovery's CFO, Gunnar Wiedenfeld, is not newly minted. He's newly also in charge of WarnerMedia. He was there at Warner, at Discovery prior to the Warner merger, and he also helped their merger with Scripps, which was like a $14 billion acquisition. The guy is a badass. He knows what he's doing. But he laid out the idea during a recent business conference. I think it was Bank of America. We have a ton of content that's been sitting idly for just purely principal reasons, meaning on principle, like we don't want to share it with other people. Wiedenfeld said, noting that Amazon deal was a non-exclusive window that might have even drawn some viewers back to HBO Max. Probably did. It's a surprisingly compelling philosophy, asking basically what HBO Max actually gets from keeping a bunch of exclusive content locked away for itself. Mind you, the company's transition into this mindset has been extremely ugly, buzzsawing through already commissioned or nearly completed projects and treating creators who are working for them in good faith like total garbage. Like, well, what are you going to do? It's like layoffs and stuff too. It's like, if you think you need layoffs, you've got to do them. You don't really have a lot of options. There's no reason beyond a frenzy for budget cuts that CEO David Zaslav couldn't have rolled out this transition more humanely. Now, as far as rolling it out more humanely, just talking reality, how would that have been? It would have been more slowly, and it would have been allowing for more uncontrolled resistance from the creative community. And this is what people like MarySue.com don't like, and the AV Club guys. What's their issue? Their issue is, if you had just given us more time that we could have coordinated with some of our other media allies, we could have made this a very costly and difficult decision for you to make, taking away some of the control that you have over your own company. We could have had some pushback. You didn't really give us a chance at doing pushback. And they are not going to be giving anyone a chance at doing pushback. They are not. Okay? They're serious business people. I love what they're doing. Zaslav and Gunnar Wiedenfeld, but they're not here to play. They're here to do business and here to get things done. So that's why I continue to encourage everybody, support the content that you love, support the people that you see are doing the right thing, producing meritorious content that's just good, that they believe in. Doesn't mean you have to buy everything that you don't necessarily like, just to buy it because you support the person. You can retweet, you can buy it just to support the person. But these are some people that are starting to sound upset. The AV Club and MarySue.com, let me know what you think of that in the comments below. Do they seem a little upset? Because they kind of seem so to me. And they're going to get more and more upset because there's going to be more and more progress. Now, there is a risk of the company being sold. Now, Warner Brothers Discovery. Why do we care about that? Look, I want to tell you something. I don't have it in my playlist, and I'll add it eventually. But I did predict that Warner Brothers Discovery would be, not Warner Brothers Discovery, that Warner Brothers would be spun off from AT&T because of the way they were positioning the company at least a year before they did it. It may have even been 2 years before I'm not quite sure, but it was extensively a lot of time. And I knew that as a business guy. And I knew that because they put Jason Kilar in as a CEO. He thought he'd be running an independent company of his own. And the reason he left immediately after the merger was there wasn't no place for him. Not just because of his strategy, but he founded Hulu, Jason Kilar. So his game was going to be like, I want to do something else big. But that was number one. He wasn't going to be in charge. No one at WarnerMedia is going to be in charge except for David Zaslav and Gunnar Wiedenfeld. They're going to delegate some, roles and things to people for their vision. But the strategy is clear. It needs to make money. But the company could be sold. And I'm not predicting it's going to be sold. But this was coming from comicbook.com, which picked this up from The Hollywood Reporter in 2024. So if the company were sold or merged into something else, the new ownership could completely change the management of anything that goes into place. There's not much we can do about this. I mean, it's just as something to be aware of. Why do I mention every now and then that this is a risk and it's unavoidable? Kind of like an asteroid hitting the Earth. Not a lot you can do about that. But hopefully it doesn't happen. The reason why they have to wait until 2024 is this. This is coming from Hollywood Reporter. This was back in November 2021, before the spinoff actually took place, but it was announced that AT&T was going to spin off WarnerMedia and merge it with Discovery in what's called a reverse Morris trust deal. Now, that's finance talk for basically saying we're going to take the stock from WarnerMedia. AT&T did this, and they gave it to all of their shareholders for free. They said, okay, we bought this, but we're going to just give it to you for free. And we're going to merge this company with Discovery. So what wound up happening was 71% of the company of the merged WarnerMedia and Discovery was owned by AT&T shareholders. It was just given to them and said, here, it's for you for free. When you change ownership of something, there's usually taxes involved, but not with this reverse Morris trust, because technically the shareholders already owned it. So it gets into complicated tax stuff. I'm no expert in anything like that, but that's the basic explanation of why no other deal can be done. The reason why it's limited to 2024 is it would be 2 years after April 2022 when the final merger was done. So no fancy schmancy tax deals could be done prior to that. And as far as someone looking at it and saying like, well, who cares? Let's just pay a little extra tax. It's not like that. The little extra tax, could be it would be in the billions and billions of dollars. Could be, 5 billion, could be 15 billion. It just depends on how everything would be organized. So no one is spending an extra 5 to 15 billion dollars on this transaction just to have it done a few months earlier. And all these deals take time anyway. So it ain't happening before 2024 at the absolute earliest. In fact, that's supposed to be when they are limited to not being able to even discuss a deal, would be April 2024. Please do remember to subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications, and give me a thumbs up when you like it, because again, it is a huge help. And I will see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.